345 rolling right through. Game day on TSN 1260. Oilers taking on the Buffalo Sabres. Tonight, Mike Smith gets the start, his 16th of the season. Chris Russell back in. Jesse Puljujärvi also back in after missing the last 12 games with an injury. Let's get to the racing report, because you know what's back? F1, all three circuits going. The racing report brought to you by CanTorque. There are a few tools who listen to the show, but none of them are built as well as the ones from CanTorque. Check out their tools at CanTorque.com. As Colin Livingston joins us once again, and Colin, the F1 weekend, people are fired up about it. We already had people texting in wondering your thoughts on now. You know, you've seen it's early, of course, very early in testing. Is it still Red Bull and Mercedes and everyone battling for third, or do you think someone can push into the top two?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, I don't know that Mercedes is going to be in the top three to start the season. I mean, there could have been a lot of sandbagging with them, you know, deliberately holding back to not really show the full strength of what they've got this year. But if you put any merit into what the team has said, what Lewis has said, they're not going to be challenging for wins to start the season. They've got a really, really revolutionary design to their car. And apparently Mercedes worked, because for people who haven't seen, the car has really, really reduced side pods, like almost to the point of having no side pods. And that's where they put the radiators and the intercoolers and all the apparatus that are used to make sure that the engine doesn't overheat. Mercedes apparently worked with a company that builds like air-cooled rockets. So literally now they're to the point of having rocket science into their cars. I just don't know if they flushed it out enough, to get all the bugs out of it, because it sounds like they're really unhappy with the way the car's been handling. But this is the point when we really get to find out who's got what. I mean, Ferrari kind of looked like the fastest team in all the testing. McLaren was really strong, and Red Bull, they showed that they're going to be competitive for sure. But this is what I love. I'm even to the point now, I bought the F1 TV package, so I'll be able to watch the first practice. I'll be able to watch all the F2 practice, watch everything as the weekend unfolds. But yeah, we got like all three of the big series with F1, IndyCar, and NASCAR. It's going to be a pretty lazy weekend, but I guess I can call it work and prep for next week's show.
So just going back to that cooling system, what is the cool, like if you have a better cooling system, what does that help? Like, I don't know a lot about engines, but is it just kind of keep everyone calm, or what's the deal?
That's a good one. When you combust fuel, the more that you can turn into power and the less that you turn into heat is a good thing. So the cooler that you can keep your engine, the more theoretical power you're going to have. The more you lose to heat, the less power you're going to have, and you're going to be more likely to have issues with your engine. I mean, overheating engine is never happy. So trying to either, get rid of the heat or preventing heat from forming in the first place is a major obstacle that all these designers, have to accomplish. The guys with the bigger side pods can put bigger radiators in, can put bigger intercoolers in, can put, they get way more air on the components that they need to cool, where this new design from Mercedes is going to be very, very challenging. I mean, I imagine that, they released it in the test session last week, so they've got to be, moderately confident that they've got all the bugs figured out. It just hasn't translated to speed yet.
Colin Livingston joins us in the CanTorque Racing Report. Of course, F1 gets going. So if you don't think Mercedes is going to be there early on, Colin, who do you see? Like, obviously Red Bull, is it Mercedes? Sorry, not Mercedes, Ferrari, or is there going to be a surprise team or driver you think that's going to, maybe push early on this year?
Well, I think individually, there's going to be a couple of team battles. Within McLaren, it took a long time for Daniel Ricciardo to kind of match the pace of his teammate Lando Norris. They're going to be strong this year, or a lot stronger than they have been in the past. There's no reason to think that Red Bull won't be the team to beat, although, you could really argue that towards the end of the season, Mercedes was a far better team. This is going to be really fun. I mean, even down the grid with the Alfa Romeo, Lewis Hamilton's former teammate Valtteri Bottas has moved over there. This is going to be like his first chance in his career to really be a true number one, having won all the 5 constructors championships at Mercedes. He's got a rookie partner in Guan Yu Zhou. So it's going to be super interesting. I mean, to see, I'm really more curious if a team like Williams, who, they're probably the second most successful team in F1 history, but they've been so far at the back the last couple of years where they really, they just didn't have the money to put into the car. Now that this salary cap is here and the spending cap is here, if teams like Williams will actually be able to, reclaim some of their glory, if things are going to even out as much as it seems like they could, I mean, you could potentially have 4, 5, 6 different teams chalking up wins this year. It would be a real shame if at the end of all these innovations and all this development that we just end up with the same 2 teams doing the same things and everyone else fighting for third on back. Hopefully we can mix it up a little bit.
Sticking with the F1 for one more, this race this weekend will be the first one with a new race director. So, what do you expect, or how quickly do you expect a new race director to kind of put his fingerprints on each unique race?
It's already started. The first thing that was announced by this new race director, and it's going to be 2 guys that split the role, kind of doing half the races each. But the big bone of contention obviously was the way that they handled the safety car last year. It seems, it definitely was done in a manner that it had never been done before. And that's largely what led to the dismissal of the previous race director. This year, they've announced quite clearly that in the event that a safety car is dispatched, all the lap down cars will have to pass. Like if they decide that one car gets to get back on, get a lap back, they all have to go through and do that. So it's not going to be this, random decision where just the ones that are in between the leader and the second place guy get to go. It's going to be kind of all or nothing. And then the other thing that he's made a really big point of, which was quite a big bone of contention last year, was what are called track limits. So when a driver, and they usually only focus on certain corners where if you go wide, it can give you a bit of an advantage, but they just, very, very pointedly said, the white line defines the track. And if at any point in time you don't have your car inside of the white line, you will be deemed to have exceeded it. I expect the new guy is really going to flex his muscles here, at least the first couple of races, be absolutely definitive with the choices that they make, and kind of set the tone so that drivers know. If the drivers know that they get a warning, or they get, they can kind of push the limit, that's exactly what they're programmed to do, and they'll always bend the rules as much as they can, as teams will. So yeah, I expect there's going to be a lot of frustration as drivers adapt to a new guy, but as long as the rules are called the same for everyone, no one can really have a reason to complain.
Colin Livingston joins us, the CanTorque Racing Report. IndyCar is back, second race of the season. You got the extreme speed and G-force and turbulence of the Texas Motor Speedway. And, a guy like Grosjean or even Jimmy Johnson. Now, I know Jimmy Johnson's run a lot of ovals, Colin, but not necessarily at this speed. So what are you kind of looking for this weekend in IndyCar?
Well, I called for, and I was definitely 100% wrong, that the opening race was going to be a little bit chaotic with all the rookies in the field. But yeah, like you called it, Gregor, with these guys like, Jimmy Johnson, obviously one of the most experienced oval drivers on the planet with his, 7 championships out of NASCAR, but not a lot's going to translate from that to what you need to do in an Indycar, and the way that the cars get upset in turbulence, and there's a real lack of grip, where the corners really run as a single groove at Texas. It's Texas is a one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult oval that an open wheel car will race on, probably more difficult than the Indy Motor Speedway. For people who followed motorsports for a long time, especially the old Champ Car days, Texas was where they actually had to cancel the race because drivers were generating too much G-force and G-loading, and they were actually blacking out and losing consciousness while driving. Texas, because they double as a NASCAR track, they lay down this traction compound, which works really well for a stock car, but it actually works opposite for the Indy cars. And they're actually talking about a special session at the end of the day on Saturday, where they take old tires, like 2021 series tires, put them on one car from each team, where they're going to, basically max out the downforce of the car to make the car press into the track as much as possible, to try and lay down rubber on the top groove. Because in the past, before Texas started running the traction compound, and they do it at a lot of tracks, it's not just at Texas, but there was some just incredible racing. I can remember, these guys were going 4 wide into a corner with, when Hinch was still driving, and Graham Ray Hall, and I think it was Hunter Ray, and I can't remember who the 4th car was, but these guys are they have the ability to do it, but when the traction just goes away, it's impossible. So hopefully they get it figured out. But with the rookies trying to figure this stuff out for the first time, they've all done test sessions there, but that doesn't simulate what happens in the race when you get so many cars disturbing so much air, and when drivers are really pushing and not giving anything. There's probably going to be a few bent up race cars by the end of the event.
When you talk about very limited racing lines, what does that do? Does that mean it's hard to pass, and you kind of just get in your spot and you hope for someone to mess up?
Well, the track, if you put the cars on the track and park them, you could put, I'm making up numbers, but you could put like 15 cars side by side. That's the amount of space that's there. But when you get up to speed, the traction is only good in the corners at Texas, specifically down towards the white line, so towards the bottom of the track. If you try to pass a car on the outside, and you can't see, I'm using my hands, but you try and get to the outside, there's no grip there. And once you get into the turbulent, like once you get out of the slipstream and you get into the turbulent air of another car with the lack of grip, you absolutely lose control. It'd be like, going from having awesome grip to just on a sheer sheet of ice. And you'll see guys, drivers, I should say, because it's a mixed field of men and women, but you'll see cars just peel off like they turned the wheel straight to the right and drove into the wall. So it becomes what's called a single groove track, where the only place that has traction is down on the bottom. So it makes it really, really tough to pass.
Colin Winston joins CanTorque Racing Report. Colin, quickly to NASCAR, and you got Chase Briscoe. He won his first Cup win last time. Now he's a guy you got some kind of background that Briscoe is very unique as far as a driver.
Well, yeah, this day and age, most drivers, whether it's open wheel, stock cars, you've got to have some money behind you if you're going to make it up the chain. Again, we've talked about this before, but it's not like hockey, where if you're good enough, someone will always put you on the next best team. And to get drafted professionally is a function of how good you are and what your potential is as an athlete. In car racing, it works kind of the opposite. You've got to have that money and be able to attract the sponsors before teams want to give you a chance, no matter how good you are. Chase Briscoe had this great quote after he won. Now he's with Stewart Haas Racing, so Tony Stewart and Gene Haas, like of Haas CNC machines, he said, 7 years ago, I was sleeping on people's couches and volunteering at race shops. That was his commitment. And he just did that until he got an opportunity to run a car, because he flat out just didn't have the money. And he said at one point he was actually driving home to quit when, things started to fall into place. So it's really, it really, it's encouraging to know that, that level of determination and with the skill still has a place and can actually get to the top here once in a while.
Colin, always great to catch up with you. We look forward to it. Any fun prediction? Who wins race 1 of the F1?
Oh, no way. No, hopefully the fans. I just want to see a good race.
Okay. All right. Jeez, that's for goodness. Hey, don't get any slivers in you sitting on the fence on that answer. Okay. Strutty special right there. We will talk to you next week, Colin. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
That's Colin Livingston with the CanTorque Racing Report.